My name is Kelsey Innes, and I'll be teaching you about Phylum Gastrotricha. Their common name is a hairy-bellied worm. They are microscopic, unsegmented, acoelomate worms. They can be found in a variety of habitats, including freshwater, marine, and even semi-terrestrial. There's about 700 different species known to this day, and they have a very short lifespan of about only 3 to 21 days. They act in sexual reproduction, where most of them are hermaphrodites, while the others are parentogenetic. And Gastrotricha is Greek for stomach hair, because their whole body is covered in cilia. There are 2 orders under this phylum, Gastrotricha as well as Macrodasiata, and their distinguishing feature is the structure of their myoepithelial pharynx. And this pharynx is what is leading to scientists and researchers believing that they evolved from nematodes, because their pharynx is very similar to the structure of a nematode pharynx. However, their phylogenetic history is very poorly known. They know that Gastrotricha has 7 families, while Macrodasiata has 6 families, and their in-group relationships are not known very well. So there have been many attempts to clarify them using both morphological as well as molecular analysis. And those morphologically based evolutionary frameworks suggested that Gastrotricha is a monophyletic group in Lophotrochozoa, and they have primitive taxa in order Gastrotricha. Some families came back with monophyletic origins, and others came back with paraphyletic origins. Macrodasiata is strictly marine species, while Gastrotricha can be freshwater, marine, or semi-terrestrial. Some other hypotheses about their origin: they share many characteristics with rotifers and nematodes, like I mentioned, as well as flatworms too. Until 1864, they were united with rotifers, but now they are classified as their own group due to their evolutionary monophyletic line that is distinct from rotifers and nematodes. So a few ways to distinguish between the 2 orders. Like I said, Macrodasiata is strictly marine species. They can be found in interstitial waters, sandy and muddy sediments. They possess pharyngeal pores. They have several pairs of protonophrydia, and they are hermaphrodites at one point in their lives, and they are also free-living in the water column. Gastrotricha, on the other hand, is a dominant order. They are strictly or mostly marine freshwater species. However, there are some marine and semi-terrestrial species in this order. Their body has adhesive tubes on the posterior side because they are sessile, so those tubes are used for attachment to substrate. They don't possess pharyngeal pores, and they only have 1 pair of protonophrydia instead of several pairs. And the freshwater species are mostly parentogenetic, and that just means that they are all female. So they are born female and they stay female most of their lives. So a little information about their morphology. As you can see, they're bilateral symmetric. Their body is covered in cilia, like I mentioned before. They have a complete digestive system with the mouth and an anus. They lack a circulatory and a respiratory system. They have a complete nervous system with ganglia, and like I said, they do possess protonephrydia, so they have an excretory system because those are used for gas exchange. They also possess a furca, which are these little glands right here. They're on the posterior end of their body, and they possess all of those adhesive tubes, and one organism can have anywhere from 2 to 250 adhesive tubes. The ventral side of their body bears longitudinal rows or patches of that cilia, and their cilia helps with the forward gliding locomotion that they act in. Their nervous system has a small brain, a pair of longitudinal nerves, and various ciliary sense organs. And their subterminal mouth is surrounded by a ring of short bristles, and their pharynx, like I said, is very similar in structure. You can see it right here, 2 nematodes, and their brain is bilobule on each side of the pharynx. This is just a more detailed description of their bodies. The organism here in A, that is a Echinonotita, while B is a Microdasiata. As you can see, these pharyngeal pores right here is the distinguishing feature between the two because Echinonotita doesn't have them. Right here is the caudal adhesive tubes, while up there is the lateral adhesive tubes. This is the X organ, which is used for female gonopore that they develop later on, which I'll get to. And then, yeah. That's it. So a little bit about their ecology. Their density and species richness has a positive correlation with productivity in their habitat. So the density tends to be the highest in highly organic sediments. They are among the few animals that can be commonly found in anaerobic environments. They have been known to live months without oxygen. They are distributed in surface sediments and among vegetation, and like I said, they can be found in a variety of habitats. Although their geographic distribution is poorly known, they have been found to be intercontinental among these different habitats. They feed on bacteria, algae, detritus, and small inorganic particles. Bacteria is their main food source, so the quantity and quality of bacteria determines where they are able to live. And their extraordinarily high rates of population turnover, along with their potentially highly selective food behaviors, suggest a considerable influence on the natural bacterial communities within their population. Their main predators also include cnidarians and amoebas, while turbularians and tanypodin midges also feed on them. More about their behavior, like I said, they move in a forward gliding fashion, and they use their ventral cilia and their adhesive tubes to do this. Most of them are sessile, using those tubes also for attachment to substrate. However, some of the marine species, like I mentioned, are free-living and have the ability to swim. They have very high population levels, however, they are mostly found solitary. And they generally feed by generating currents using pumping actions of their muscular pharynx or ciliary currents, which draw food into their mouth. They do that activity, but also some species do possess tactile chemosensory organs, which distinguish between different food types while they're bringing it into their mouth. Their reproduction and life cycle is actually very unique and interesting. Like I said, most are hermaphrodites, and freshwater species are parenthogenetic. So newly hatched gastrotrichs are typically large. They're about 2/3 of the size of a fully grown adult gastrotrich, and they are born containing their developing eggs already. And those are the parenthogenic eggs. And within the first day of being born, once they are in conditions of 20 degrees Celsius waters, they will produce and hatch that first egg, and that is called a tachyblastic egg, and that hatches almost immediately. And they will typically lay 4 eggs over a 4-day period. And that last egg that they lay is the opisthoblastic egg, or a resting egg, and this egg is a tough overwintering egg that germinates in very extreme conditions such as drought or high heat or high cold environments. And that opisthoblastic egg has allowed them to live in these variety of habitats and conditions. The parenthogenic eggs are genetically identical to their mother, and after they lay all of those parenthogenic eggs, then they have the ability to develop into a hermaphrodite. And that's when the sperm, meiotic sexual eggs, as well as the X organ are all produced and have the ability to grow. And this process takes about 1 week after the last parenthogenic egg is laid. And then the sperm is transferred from the functional male to the functional female via the spermatophore, and then that fertilized egg will be released through a rupture in the ventral wall, and then it will grow and become a juvenile gastrotrich because there is no larval stage present. life history. They were first observed in 1718, with the first species being determined and described in 1773. Like I just mentioned, their life cycle is very unique among invertebrates, and it offers considerable ecological flexibility among their populations because of that opisthoblastic egg, which buffers their populations against unfavorable conditions and allows them to disperse amongst many different habitats. They also offer the idea of genetic recombination because of their sexual reproduction, because that is more likely in populations in which rates of mortality is low enough to allow those sexual developments to start to occur. Convergent evolution is also an idea because an enormous number of species have not been described, let alone studied. So this idea of convergent evolution is the most recent idea of where they evolved because of their cuticle ornamentation, as well as their adhesive tubes and their similar characteristics to those rotifers, nematodes, and flatworms. Now the question you've been waiting for, can you eat these guys? No, you can't, because they are very, very tiny, they are microscopic, and you probably won't even taste them if they go in your mouth. That's it.